Rule number 1,
BIOS.
always right. Rule number 2, nothing else matters because
BIOS.
it's always right.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, and yes, I am back. I took a bit of a break. Today, we are going to be, and I cannot believe I'm making this video, to be honest. We're making an Anthem video. Now, if you followed me for a while, I used to make Anthem videos. None of those videos are available on my channel anymore. I believe I privated all of them, I think. Because I just wanted to completely move away from Anthem. The game was such a betrayal to me, and it really opened my eyes. That happens to every one of us in the gaming, for people that are aware or involved in the gaming industry or paying attention and stuff like that in the community, where it will happen where some developer or gaming company that you loved at the time would basically betray you and disappoint you. And Anthem was around the start of that. First it was Bungie, then it was BioWare, and then so on and so forth. Now, Anthem was a major hit for me because in terms of being disappointing, because I think I was coming from Destiny at the time, and Destiny went through its big thing where it was supposed to be this big Marvel, was supposed to rival Skyrim and all this stuff. And in my opinion, to this day, it has not even come close to those waters. And when Anthem was coming out, I thought it would be the case. But now Anthem is dead. It was the gaming's most disappointing, most like, it was a really big scandal, a moment in gaming history for a game like this to fail and fail so terribly. Plus, and also the development around it was now I'm going to react to some videos. Basically what's happening is that people have now heard that EA has completely shut down Anthem servers, and in my opinion, that is a good thing. But everyone, for some reason, seems to be not upset by this. I mean, no, they seem to be obsessed by it. Like, they don't, like, people are not okay with this for some reason, and it's confusing me because Anthem was such a letdown and a disappointment to a very high degree, where even though like people had their fun with it, I had my fun with it. The only thing that was fun with Anthem, and everybody will agree, was that it was pretty to look at, and the flying mechanics were cool, and some of the combat was nice. Everything else in terms of actual mechanics, gameplay, story, um lore, like all of that was just no. It was literally thrown together with tape and dreams and hope, and it did not give what it wanted to give. So now EA has finally completely pulled the plug on it. You will no longer be able to play Anthem, and people are upset by this. And for me, like I stated, this confused me. This confuses me because Anthem was such a stapled example of how not to develop a video game. And I don't understand why people are, it seems, because I like my my co-host, my co-host and cousin Super from the Get Your Game Sense Up podcast that we do on this channel, sent me a text message saying that Anthem is dead. And then after that, I mean, actually dead. It was dead before, but now it's actually like they pulled the plug. And then I started seeing people like, oh my God, like they killed another game, and Anthem was up in its servers for a long time, and even then they were not doing updates. They were not doing anything. Like there was no updates, there was no fixes, there was nothing. Anthem was already dead. So I'm really confused and also bothered by how people are reacting to this. And it also gives me the idea of, I mean, I like already actually, especially what happened with Concord. Like people are the internet is insanely fickle, and they're always flipping sides and stuff like that. But anyways, I don't want to ramble on too much longer. We're gonna get into this. We're gonna be watching Luke Stevens. EA didn't get the Stop Killing Anthem games. Oh my God, Stop Killing Games memo. Okay. So we're gonna watch this, and I'm going to interject with my thoughts, and also based on my experience. I was with Anthem since day one. A lot of information during that time I probably will not remember. Like the devs who worked on it and stuff like that. I do remember one guy, which was Ben Irving, and he's like the one who did that awkward hug at one of the showcases for Anthem, with a host. And yeah, I bet y'all don't even remember that. Anyways, let's get started. And then at the end of this, I'm going to give like more of my thoughts and more of my background and relationship that was with Anthem. All right.
Well, everyone, if you happen to miss it, the Stop Killing Games petition has actually crossed 1 million signatures, which was the initial goal. Now they're trying to achieve 1.1, then 1.2, and so on. And that means that this movement could actually see change effectuated in the EU, which would then affect all of the other markets around the world, which is a very good thing in my opinion. And that makes it all the more insane that today, of all days, right as it reaches 1 million signatures, Anthem is revealed to be getting a sunsetting treatment, which is basically industry parlance for they are killing it dead and never looking back. They are going to be shutting off the servers in early 2026 in January, and as a result, Anthem will never be playable again. You won't be able to launch
As it should be. As it should be. As it should be.
it. You won't be able to download it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what platform you got it on, it will be dead and gone forever. They will effectively
As it should be. It should be dead and gone forever. I agree.
have killed the game. But we're gonna get
The game was already dead. It was already dead. They just completely took it off. The game was already dead. I'm going to reiterate that because a lot of people have been saying this. Like, oh, they effectively killed Anthem. Like, they killed it. It was already dead. All right.
get into all of this. We're going to talk about the Stop Killing Games stuff. We're going to talk about Anthem, wrap it all up in a nice bow, and say goodbye to Anthem once and for all. So buckle up. It's going to be interesting. But first, a thank you to our sponsor, Incogni.
Okay, we're going to skip that because I know that he does like a 3-minute ad.
Okay, we're back. Quick little recap in case you somehow did not know about Anthem. This was a game from BioWare, of all studios, back in 2019. It was a bizarre project for them because, of course, they were known for open world, like, RPGs, or even not totally open world RPGs, but mainly role-playing games that were very narrative focused, narrative driven, and they were not known for like looter shooters with like really beautiful gritty worlds. Like this was not their bread and butter at all, and so it was really surprising to see that this is what they were doing. Like this was the route they were taking. And
So I'm going to be paying attention to how these next few videos around Anthem, of what people are going to be saying when it came to the development of it, because I noticed that sometimes, I'm not saying that Luke is going to do this, but I've noticed that a lot of times where these things happen, people just kind of forget what happened and then they try to push the blame on something else. Like, he was stating that this game that BioWare was developing, it was not in their wheelhouse. And it's kind of like, during that time when we were learning more about the development of Anthem, we were learning how this was outside of their wheelhouse, and this was they were working with an engine, the Frostbite engine, that they were not comfortable with, but there were other things around it. Like, okay, so basically they wanted to make this game. They wanted to make this game, and they wanted to try. And there's nothing wrong with the developer trying something new, but I just want to see what the conversation and language is so that it doesn't seem like it was not BioWare's fault, because a lot of the blame is on BioWare, and surprisingly, not EA.
long story short, the game was a disaster. It flopped catastrophically.
As
a lot of
it
people
did.
thought that BioWare was actually going to go belly up as a result. And
I did.
Somehow they didn't. They got given a second chance, which good for them.
And I know exactly how they did it too.
And they used that second chance to make another game, Dragon Age: The Veilguard, which, if you didn't play that, I'm jealous. But
Also,
okay, I'm being sad. It wasn't.
He didn't
that
lie.
Bad. It wasn't that bad. Like, it was not good, but it was not like terrible. This game had all of like 3 hours of content, maybe, and it was just shallow, and it was also massively downgraded from the trailers. Like, it just wasn't It was not good. It was really bad. Veilguard was just a mess, and the writing was where it really got bad, and so it's probably not fair to like toss these into the same category. But you know, BioWare, as
No, do that. No, toss them into the same boat. Exactly. Definitely toss them into the same boat. Do it. Because they did not learn from their mistakes.
a result of this game and then Veilguard, and prior to this game, their last title was Mass Effect Andromeda, which also had its own fair share of, let's just say, hiccups.
Sorry, my face is tired from dealing with everything.
Lay off the booze.
But the point is, this was a game from a previously lauded studio that made a lot of stuff people loved, and then they released a flop, and then they released this, and then they released another game which most people consider to have been a flop. Honestly, it's kind of amazing that BioWare is still kicking. I mean, props to them for surviving all of that. They did see major layoffs and stuff after Veilguard. Now it's down to like somewhere between 60 and 80 people basically just doing pre-production on Mass Effect, whatever the next one's called. And actually all of the writers for Dragon Age Veilguard got laid off after Veilguard, which to me is encouraging. It shows that
Good. Okay. Let me say that better. Okay, it's not good that these people lost their jobs. I'm not saying that's good. But the writing in Veilguard and also the writing in Anthem, horrid. Horrid. Like, how did you green like that? The characters that were in Veilguard were so bland and one-dimensional. There's no connection to them. Like, you cannot relate to them at all, really. Like, even if you tried, it just was like so one note. It felt like they had no depth. It was like watching a standard kid show. But also a lot of times kid shows do better with having their characters relate to the viewers or having a way to connect to the viewers, you know? But Belgard, it was just like you really did not care about any of them. And also your character was so unable to be offensive or threatening. He was always trying to please everybody. It was too much friendship. We're all friends and we need to. They're adults and they're people or they're beings, you know? They need like they have complications and flaws and different ways of thinking and you never saw that in this one, unlike the other previous Mass Effect and Dragon Age games. So like no, like those so yeah, I'm glad they don't have those writers anymore. Like they need to have people that actually will actually deliver the story properly.
at least they were aware of the critiques and the feedback, and so those people got booted out. But
Exactly.
nonetheless, I mean, we still have Anthem right now, and what it is a like open world sort of looter shooter game with a dark and mysterious world for you to explore with all these caves and caverns and dynamic encounters, and you're supposed to go in with your friends and play into these matches to grind out crafting materials to upgrade your javelin, which is this Iron Man looking suit here. There's all sorts of different types. There's some that are focused on movement and speed and agility. Others are more tanky, like the one I'm using right now. All different weapons, and these can all be customized as well. Like this one, I can tweak, for example, like the arms. I can swap out the arm plates. If I want to upgrade to these, I can do that with this currency.
I remember the amount of complaints on Reddit of how people hated the menu system. The way that you have to go through page by page to change colors, to customize, to equip weapons, to look at your inventory, to see whatever you got. It was a slog. I didn't think it was that bad, but I definitely understood the criticism, and it could have definitely been improved. I remember that there was one person who posted a redesign for it, and it was absolutely amazing. It's always funny how just some random person, it's always one random person online actually going out of their way and completely formulating a whole new system, gameplay, whatever, and do it 10 times, 100 times better than the actual team of developers that did it. That's absolutely ridiculous. I'm not saying that shouldn't happen, but it shouldn't happen as much as it does. Like, you guys are a team of talented individuals that should be doing that already. Like, I understand game development is all a pain and it's all confusing and it's all not as easy and da da da, but that is not an excuse. That is not an excuse.
So if I hold that down, I can just swap out and upgrade the arms. Cool, Dreadnought arms upgraded. Boom. They allow you to change the javelin's appearance. They have no impact on the combat power. Armor must be equipped in the forge. Okay. So their idea was you could like buy and get cosmetics for the game. That's at least the concept. And so these were the old arms, and this is the new arm. So
Okay.
there you go. But then there's also all sorts of different equipment and things like support gear. I can do this, battle cry, heavy support gear. Okay. We can also craft different mechanics and systems. I can back out of their heavy assault launcher. I can't tweak anything there. You see I have mass salvage because this is part of the sort of gameplay loop, is you're collecting salvage and collecting different materials to craft stuff. And you know, it's not a bad idea for a game like this. Could work. I think, you know, clearly mech games are popular, they have huge audiences, and melding this with more of a Western approach to the gameplay loop could work very well. The problem is, like I said earlier, it just had like 3 hours of content, and so when it launched, it did very, very poorly. And
Literally, do you hear that? At launch, 3 hours. 3 of content at launch.
And it was just kind of a disaster, and it was memed on, and it was just a train wreck. And so even though this launched all the way back in 2019, it stopped receiving support very, very early on in that lifespan, and it's basically just been sitting dormant. Like, it's had all of maybe 20 players a day
2019
for years, I'm sure. I mean, most people are playing it through Game Pass, where it's included as part of like EA Plus, but other than that, like, we just don't have a way of tracking player counts. But I'm sure it's been abysmally low because
So 7 years. Yeah, 7 years. Around ish 7 years of them not doing any updates, no new content, no new story, like nothing. The game just sitting there online, doing nothing. Dwindled player base, doing nothing. And people are mad.
I don't even know what you would be doing if you were trying to play this game all these years after the fact, because this really is like all there is to it. Like, enemies over there, you go fight them with your buddies.
Yeah,
There's
that's
some
it.
missions and stuff. If we pull up the map, you can see like there's a bunch of different environments and things, but like not a whole lot. But that brings me to our topic today, which is what EA sent out earlier this morning, which was just kind of a random post, unsolicited, discussing an update to what they were doing with Anthem. What they said was, we have an important update to share regarding Anthem. After careful consideration, we will be sunsetting Anthem on January 12th, 2026. This means that the game will still be playable online for the next 180 plus days. Oh, how generous of them. They continue. As of today, you can no longer purchase in-game premium currency, but you can still use your remaining balance until the servers go offline. We deeply appreciate your dedication, passion, and support over the years. We'd like to thank you for that. For additional information on Anthem, please refer to the FAQ below.
Premium currency. Was there a shop? I don't really remember because it was a paid game. I don't think there was a shop. Maybe they added one later.
BioWare team. How long will I have to play Anthem? Till January. Why can't I play Anthem in offline mode? A great question.
No, it's not.
Dare I say, you bought the game. You'd think that you could keep playing it even after they shut
They gave you a huge window to return it
off servers. But they say Anthem was designed
or to get your money back.
to be an online only title. So once the servers go offline, the game will no longer be playable. It just won't work. Like, some games, you can boot it and like still get into the menus even if the servers are turned offline. Just the other day, I did a video because an early build of Concord leaked, and I actually was able to get it, download it, launch it, and navigate a bunch of the menus and the character select screen. If you're interested in that video, I'll have it linked below, because it's very, very interesting to see like this early version of Concord that is still technically playable. Anthem, however, checks for an online connection immediately. And so without some serious backdoor know-how, and I'm guessing like ability to mod executables and stuff, it just won't launch. Like you just won't be able to boot Anthem, period, even if it's fully downloaded after this date, because they'll just shut off the server. So there will be nothing to verify your copy of the game. They continue, can I still install Anthem after or if I previously purchased the game? Yes, if you previously purchased the game Anthem, the game can still be downloaded from the digital library and played until January, after which you will not be able to. Even if you bought the game, you will not be able to. It will go bye-bye. It will be dead and gone forever.
Bye.
And again, this is not the first time that something like this has happened. The reason the Stop Killing Games petition and movement started gaining traction is because it's happened many times before. Back in 2023, Marvel's Avengers stopped receiving official support and they delisted the game. My understanding is you can still boot into it and you can still run it, but you can't buy it. You can't like re-download it on most storefronts because it's been taken off. So it's effectively dead. Like they killed it. Even if you bought it at full price, it's gone. And this is something that in like literally any other industry would be totally unacceptable. Like imagine if you bought a car, you used it for a handful of years, even to the point where it's not really a good product anymore. Like even if it breaks down and it's just a pile of junk. Imagine if like Ford just showed up at your door and was like, yeah, we're taking it back. Thank you.
Okay. Not a good example. I'm going to counteract this. So yes, this does not happen in any other industry. That is true. But here's the difference here. You purchased a game that was made without the passion of its devs, buggy, broken, no content, basically an unfinished product. Anthem was so unfinished, it had the same effect. Wait. Yeah, I think it had the same effect that the devs of CD Projekt Red had with Cyberpunk, where they released the announcement trailer where they like give you this nice little cinematic trailer and this is what the game is look like with its gameplay. The entire video was fake. It was completely created to show off a product that the devs did not know they were making until they themselves saw that announcement trailer at, I forget if it was like E3 or Summer Games thing or whatever. Whenever that big reveal was, that was when everybody was like, oh my God, that's the game we're making? And we got to get this game going in like 6 months? You want to keep that? Now, now to counteract his example, when you buy a car, here's the difference when it comes to different industries. When you buy a car, the car is complete. You have the steering wheel, you have you have the steering wheel, you have the tires, you have the car, the engine, all that stuff so that you can go and drive around. Now, if there is an issue with the car, what happens? There is what? A recall. Ooh, yeah, you take it back to the dealer, they fix it, and they give it back to you. At least that's my understanding. Now, you don't have to do that. You could stick with your car that could possibly blow up. I don't know why you would do that. Me, I would take my car in and get it fixed or see what they can do to give me back the money so I can get another car, which does happen. You take your money back and you go get another car. I feel like that statement should really be for games that deserve it, that actually tried to make the game better. Anthem literally sat there and did nothing. Now, if we were to take that and do it for like No Man's Sky or Cyberpunk, games that actually did try, even though Cyberpunk is another issue for me, but anyways, the developers actually tried to fix it, to make it better, to make it, but what happened with Anthem is just not the same case. Those developers, and this is not an excuse, I'm just saying this is the reality that what happened. Those developers that were working on the game at the time were suffering. That game was not made with love. That game was not made with passion. It probably started off like that in the concept phase, but the actual cycle of that was strenuous. And if you were to read, like has stayed in my mind when I read the anonymous devs that came out and talked about their experience working on Anthem. People were finding empty offices and crying. They were having breakdowns because their livelihood was on the line. And it was. A lot of them got fired or left out of fear. And then the people that were left developing on it had nothing to do with the game initially. It was just, people who do quality testing. And I think the guy that was leading Anthem 2.0 was like just a community figurehead, like a guy that talks to the community. I don't think he was really a developer. Um, if you guys know more details on that, correct me if I'm wrong and put it in the comments. But I believe that is the gist of what happened. So even though you paid for this, they did give plenty of windows for you to get your money back. And even if you for some reason did not get your money back or you didn't know about it and whatever and stuff like that, let's be honest. Like, are you really playing it? And if you are you really okay with having such a product sitting in your library doing absolutely nothing? Like, I understand the appeal of Anthem. It's very pretty. The flying mechanics was great, which is thanks to EA. I'm not defending EA. I'm not defending them, but I'm saying thanks to an EA representative, if you guys knew the story, thanks to an EA representative, we had the flying mechanic. They were going to cut it because they had nothing. And everything else that they showed that representative was garbage. He was like, what? You guys had 6 years with millions of dollars and this is what you gave us? What? And then he said, no, figure it out. And then he came back, the flying, he's like, yeah, keep that, build off of that. If it wasn't for that person, we would not have this. And if Anthem, I wholeheartedly believe that Anthem did not have that unique flying mechanic, nobody would bat an eye about it dying. Not even a wink. Okay, not even an eye twitch at all. They'll be like, okay, like all the other games. So in comparison to those other games that this initiative is for, they are usually well-rounded games. They are completed games, you know? So like again, if this would have happened to like Cyberpunk, they did the work, they tried to fix it, but they lost too much money, the negativity and the reception was too bad. So CD Projekt Red decided to cut it. I can understand a fight for that game because they were fixing it and it was getting better and it was transforming and it gave a lot. There was hours and hours and hours to be had there. No matter what anyone says about this game, I'm not going to agree because you can spend hours and hours in a game with 3 hours of content just sitting in there doing nothing. You could fly around and just shoot things and get yourself thousands and thousands of hours, but that's not a real game. Anthem was not a real game. Like if I could, I would erase Anthem from ever existing if I could. But we need Anthem to exist so that it is an example as it was before CD Projekt Red took the throne. No, well, CD Projekt Red and then Veilguard and then whatever else came after of being bad, but it is a big example of what games should not be. It is an example of what game development should not be. Okay? And I'm sure those people who worked on it probably do not want Anthem to exist either. Now here's what I will agree with. I can agree with people wanting the mechanics of the flying and maybe the combat and maybe like some of the nice little graphical fidelity of it to be in another game. I would love to see something like that taken and put into another game, right? Like let's take what we can learn from this, put it in something else and make it better. Let's make it what it should be, but also better and different and 10 times bigger, right? That's where we should be focusing our attention. We should not be focusing our attention on a game that's literally a waste of time. It's dead, it's gone, it's not getting content or anything like that. If it was like the people that were trying to make Anthem 2.0 and adding the new weapons and trying to add new end game stuff and trying to expand the story, if it was like if there was like they were trying, okay, yeah, okay, let's fight for this. Let's not get them to shut down. Let's maybe sign a petition so they can own the rights to it. That type of thing I would fight for. But I would not fight for this car. Take this car back and give me back my money.
Like, even if you weren't using it actively, you still bought the damn thing. And so why would you be okay with them just taking it away? Same with a book. There's plenty of books, there's Blu-rays and stuff over here on this bookshelf over there, and I haven't touched them in a while. Like a lot of those books I may have read years ago, but they sit on my bookshelf. That doesn't mean that the publisher should therefore come and take it away from me. I bought it, it's mine. Like, it's not that complicated. But in the case of Anthem, and frankly a lot of digital content, just period, whether it's music or films or whatever, the understanding is generally that you are leasing the product. Like, you're not actually buying a game when you give them the money on Steam or any other like digital storefront. You're not actually buying the product. You are buying a license to use the product until they decide to take it away from you, or they decide it's not worth keeping up, or anything else. And it is that way because these companies have structured it that way, because that's what's beneficial to them. They can design these games that are always online or online only, and as a result, they don't have to deal with all of that troublesome stuff of people like playing games without buying.
Okay, so the when he said about I bought it, it's mine, I understand that sentiment, and that's very true, but let's not beat around the bush here for games that just don't deserve it. They just don't deserve it at all. Um, we need to be having that claim for the ones that do deserve it. Like, what's a popular game right now? Expedition 33. That game, I bought it, it's mine. Fantastic game. That game should not, I don't know if it has online play, I don't think so, but if it did, that game should not be removed. That is a fantastic game, and da-da-da. Because they fooled us. They fooled us. And, you know, fool me once, fool me twice, blah, blah, blah. Like, they fooled us with this game. It was a complete lie. It was a lie. So, you want to own a lie? You want to own a defective product. Right. Was it crispy?
In-game currency, without getting the updates about the new DLC, without the expansions and all of that. There's also, of course, elements like DRM, which is digital rights management software, which is used to like discourage piracy and things like that. And so always online games have been around for ages, and it's just kind of the standard in the industry, but that doesn't mean that you have to like it. You know, you can be upset with the status quo and then seek change to that status quo. That's possible, that's doable, and that doesn't mean that you are being like an ideologue or unrealistic or just hopeful or anything. It just means that you're seeking to change something that's bad, and that's okay. And in light of a lot of these always online games that get sunset, shut down, and you can never play them again, like Concord being a very obvious example, a lot of people are hoping that they can make some sort of change so that these games, however good or bad they may be, can continue to live on after you've bought them. I thought Concord was bad. I know, controversial statement, but I still think it should be available to play. And if somebody wants to buy it and experience it, which is probably the best word for it, they should be allowed to do that. They should be able to.
Oh. What are we saying? I'm sorry for pausing so much. And I just want to really get it through. They should not be experiencing this game. You don't want Anthem. I'm so not sorry. You don't want it. You don't want to spend your money. You do not want. Would you buy an unfinished car? Would you buy a ticket for a plane with only half an engine or wings in the sky? No, you would not. No, you wouldn't. Would you buy clothes that's missing the buttons, that doesn't have the zipper, the seam is out, you could see everything literally falling in your hands? No, you don't. You would not buy it. And if you did, you would want your money back. What are we saying? Keep up the standards. We need to raise our standards, okay? And stop trying to find the golden silver lining in garbage. I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of this. Like, we want games to be better and to be of quality like they were back in the day, but we keep trying to accept trash. Like, come on. Get off the floor. Pick yourself up.
to. The developers worked on it for years and years and years.
And they did nothing for years and years and years. They did not take any feedback. They refused to listen to opinions from other people that had more experience than them. They deserve this L.
And the fact that that's just gone now, it's basically lost media, even though it just came out last year. That's crazy. Like,
it's actually very logical. It's actually logical. It's not crazy at all. Literally, I don't even know if he did a video talking about the development of Anthem. Like, trust me, just literally Google it. Like, actually Google it. It was horrible. They didn't know what they were doing, and you want to take that for all of time? And they also, what was it called? Our BioWare magic is gonna fix the game for us. We're just gonna work our developers super hard till they're tired and not see their families and not take a break just to make it happen, because that's what BioWare magic is. You sound insane. You sound psychotic. Like, something is deeply wrong with you. Like, that's not how a game made with passion and love is done. So no, I don't want these years and years of useless, pointless, doing nothing, wasting millions of dollars doing nothing except going back and forth and fighting amongst themselves of absolute insanity. Like, no, I don't want that. It's not crazy. It's logical. I don't want that. No.
That's insane. And I think
No, it's not.
it goes to a broader topic, especially with video games, where, you know, there's always a debate over whether they are just products or whether it's more of an art thing, like an art piece. And in some cases, like a Concord, you know, that was a project that was built to be a product that was built to be sold, and it was designed by, you know, a board of people to be a very, very monetizable product. But there's a lot of games out there that I would classify as art, like an Expedition 33, I think is an artistically beautiful and profound game. And I'm not saying they would do this, but if they wanted to, they could technically just sunset that game, take it away from you, shut it down, and never give you access to it again.
And that is a game that I would fight for. Now, I understand what he's trying to say, but I'm sorry, that just does not correlate with Anthem. It does not correlate with Anthem. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. No. Mm-mm.
Like, that's technically possible. A game like that could just be sunset and shut down and marked unplayable for.
And I guess the other reason for why I'm like so against it is because Anthem was a $60 game at the time, and now games are going 70 to 80. You know, regardless, it was expensive. Okay, it still is considered expensive. $60 freaking dollars. You know what you could do with $60 freaking dollars? Okay, and for them to literally rob you and gave you a pile of nothing, and you want to fight for that? You want to fight for it? You shouldn't be fighting for that. You should be fighting them. You should be fighting them. They should do another round of refunds. Another round of refunds for people who did not get a chance to refund it before, and people for some reason who don't know about any of this. They just, you know, they just see Anthem on the storefront, and they're like, "Oh, this box looks cool. Let me try it out. Let me do it." It should be like a permanent get your money back until that game is offline. They should not be making any profit until that game is offline. And that game should not exist, because it is not a standard that we as gamers should accept.
Forever. Like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. And, you know, I think that the reason that a lot of people went along with the DRM stuff, with the always online games for a while, was because we still had physical copies of those games. So if you wanted to play Evolve, for example, Evolve being that game that launched back in, I think, like 2014 or something, that was really hyped up, won a bunch of awards before it came out for being like the most exciting upcoming multiplayer live service game. It came out, totally flopped, was a disaster, super disappointing, and it eventually got sunset and killed off. At least that game, you bought like a disc, and the disc had the game on it. I don't honestly know if you can still boot it.
You can play peer-to-peer, so on PC. This gameplay is from 2025, so from recent times. This, I don't think it's just not on the same level as Anthem. I think this is better. I would fight for this. This is something that you can actually get hours and hours and hours of content doing. I just don't think that that's a thing with Anthem. It's just not. This is just not there. It's just not the same.
Into that game and play private matches or something. I don't actually know. I don't own a copy of Evolve. But if you wanted to, like, that was something that was very normal 10, 15 years ago, especially. But nowadays, that is not the norm. Most games are not even getting the full version of the game on the disc, or in the case of like the Switch, on the little card. And instead, you are expected to like put the disc in, which basically has a key to the game in it, and then the game downloads from the online store. And right now, that's not a problem. Right now, I know people will be like, well, you have an internet connection, don't you? I get that. I get people saying that. And yeah, most people, if you have a console, you have an internet connection. I agree. Sorry, somebody hit me with an explosive. I agree with that. But the problem is that will not always be the case. Eventually, the PlayStation 5 will be considered an antique console. Eventually, the PS4 will as well, and certainly PS3 and PS2. Those have already started seeing support for their servers and storefronts shut down, because that's what happens every single time. Back in the 360 era, the idea that one day like 360 and PS3 games would be considered antiquated was crazy, because we were living in the moment. Now, that's the reality, you know? And so it's about thinking ahead just a little bit, that experiences, good or bad, should be preserved. It's part of gaming history. It's part of our industry. And I think it's kind of ridiculous to just let these games die and shove them into the dustbin of history simply because the server maintenance was too expensive. Now, I can hear you barking, big dog. Luke, what do you actually do about this? Like, what's the suggestion? Well, one of the suggestions that's been
Games good or bad. I think I understand what he said here, and I do agree with it. But I just think that the development landscape for modern games is just different than it was back then for titles that were considered bad, because you can find a lot of joy or gold more with the older titles, because they were more feature packed and stuff like that. With him saying that he just like we should be preserving games, whether good or bad, because it's gaming history. Like, yeah, sure, I get that, but at what cost are we really going to sacrifice our standards for that? Because I just think that we should be going up. We should be like, even though Anthem will go offline and people won't be able to play it, it's not like it didn't exist. We have YouTube, we have other ways to preserve it. Now, I'm not saying this for everything. I'm not saying this as an excuse for everything. Like, I do think games should definitely be preserved, but I think there just needs to be something to better allocate it. Like, if the game was free, if Anthem was free, I don't care. I I I mean, I'm not gonna say I don't care. I would still say it should not exist. I don't think Anthem has any value, even if Anthem was free. Um, but with how expensive things are, and then you're expecting a finished product and everything like that, and then you're trying to preserve something that's just not finished or complete. Like, I feel like its impact has been set in history. You have the articles, you have the footage of gameplay online. People will see it. People who have played it will also have their experience with it too. It's such a weird thing. Like, there has to be another way to do this. It's because when I think about it, I'm just like, I don't want to spend eventually, an $80 on an incomplete mess just to have it exist for the rest of time. I hope you get what I'm saying.
put forward by people that are, championing the like stop killing games movement, for example, is to do something like putting on an always offline mode where you can boot into the game and it doesn't connect to any servers, and you miss out on some functionality. Sure, obviously you're not going to be able to play games or matches with your friends if you're offline, but there's still at least maybe an ability to explore the open world where you can just fly around if you want to, or maybe it boots in and allows you to navigate menus and still read the codex and stuff like that. just some way to boot into the game and make it playable. Other people look for something a little bit more elaborate, like maybe allowing for private server hosting where you can host something on your own computer, which is certainly an option as well. And what's
Stuff like that I don't mind with either, because like with, for example, what's that game called, Paragon or Predecessor, whatever. The way that that game kind of survived was that the people released the game files or whatever, so that other people can take it and make their own versions of that game and just like do their own spin. That way, that game kind of exists, and a lot of games kind of do something like that, where you can just kind of take it and do what you want with it and keep it alive in some shape or form. I think Anthem would have benefited a lot and also have the access to like modding and stuff like that, even though the developers um just did not have did not have the talent to really save the game or whatever the case may be. The community will, because the community will do that. They will take it there, and there was a lot of people who loved Anthem, including myself, that would put a lot of time into fixing it and making it what it could be. Maybe not exactly what it should have been, but something close, or maybe even something better. Something like that I can most likely agree with, but there has to be another way to distribute it, because I don't think spending the excuse of just I bet money is enough. I don't think that's enough. I think there has to be another way.
What's crazy is that's not even like that novel of a thing. I remember back in the day, Stronghold Crusader. I played the crap out of that with my brothers. We would all launch the game on our little bitty laptops, and we would host local matches where we all booted in and played against each other without having to connect to any outside servers. We just had it so one of the players hosted a match on their computer, and then we all connected to that match. And this is something that also happened back in the day with like old school Halo meetups, where people would bring their computers over and have LAN parties and stuff like that. That was very, very normal for a very long time. But now we're supposed to believe that that's just too unreasonable, that's too expensive for studios to manage. Like, no, get the hell out of here. They could do it if they wanted to. That's the key point. If they wanted to, they could do it. But the reason it has not been the norm, the reason they've not bothered with it for so long, is because it doesn't bolster the bottom line. If anything, it could reduce it. It could minimize it. Because once people have the option to play offline, once they have the option, they will occasionally. Maybe not all the time, but they will occasionally. And when players are playing offline, there is no chance for them to buy anything from your storefront. There's no shot at them giving you money and for you to be milking them dry while they play. And as a result, it's just not something they want to do. And so, of course, they haven't bothered with trying to do it at all. And that's why, we've seen all of these multiplayer games come out over the last handful of years, which seem to be missing more and more of those quality of life features that used to be the norm, like no split screen co-op, for example, on console games, which is just ridiculous. Like, you used to be able to play a lot of these games in split screen co-op multiplayer. Now that's just extremely rare. It's crazy. And listen, to a certain extent, there's no way to talk about this without just sounding like a boomer, without sounding like an old man screaming at the clouds. I get that. But I think the point of this conversation, the point of bringing it up, is to say that just because something is the status quo doesn't mean it has to always be the status quo. Just because the world is the way it is doesn't mean you can't seek to make it better. Like, if nobody ever tried to make the world a better place, it would still be the way it was 1,000 years ago. We'd all still be living in little hovels in a fiefdom under a lord, not voting for our kings. I didn't vote for you. Like, that would just be the norm, because nobody tried to do anything bigger or better or crazier. And I'm not saying, overthrow lords and kings. I'm just simply saying, well, I guess sort of in a abstract way I am. But all I'm saying is that you ultimately have the power. Like, yes, these companies, yes, corporations are worth billions of dollars. Yes. But you know why they're worth billions? Because you and I give them money. That's why. And the day you stop giving them money is the day that they will not be profitable. That's the
Facts. But is that ever going to happen? No.
the day that they will not be worth billions of dollars because they need you more than
Then
you
you need
them.
them.
And so I'm dead. Okay, I'm okay. So if you are willing to stand up, sign a freaking petition if you live in the EU, if you're willing to take those steps to try and make the industry better, that will help. It will make a difference. And like I said, I don't think it's a coincidence that all of this is happening at the same time as everything else that's going on with this movement. I think that we're gonna probably see a number of these like underperforming live service games get sunsetted and fully shut down in the next 6 months, probably, especially if this petition continues making progress, because all of these big corporate bigwigs are gonna go, we don't want to risk getting to a position where we have to like update Anthem. We don't want to have to update Redfall. We don't want to have to put a development team on one of
Woo! Redfall, I forgot about that stain. Oh my god. Oh, that game is almost as bad as oh my god. Horrible.
these failed live service games to try and make it offline compatible. We don't want to do that. So just shut it down now before we have to deal with that. So you're probably going to see a lot more games similarly to Anthem see a discontinuation, and it's just going to keep happening, especially as the movement picks up speed and popularity. So buckle up, it's going to happen more. Oh, the game crashed.
And that's the game that you want to keep around. Okay.
What a beautifully perfect way to end this video.
Okay, so that's that. Okay, so all right, so I'm gonna give some of my thoughts. We're already near an hour. I don't know. It's just like, again, I understand what he's trying to say and what the movement is trying to do, but I just feel like I just don't really see the point or the gain. Ugh, excuse me for this, because the qualities that Anthem had was, again, just that it looked pretty, some of the combat and the flying. That's it. It didn't have any other qualities. Now, the flying has been done in pretty much verbatim the same in like other games with like Marvel's Avengers and stuff like that, like with Iron Man, stuff like that. Or there was another game that had like a flying mech suit, whatever, uh just as good, not as satisfying, but just as good. Like look, the game is like even crashing. Like, you want to keep that, I don't really see the point in investment. So but yeah, I'm gonna end it there. Let me know your thoughts on the comments about this whole situation. You've already seen mine. Like, I'm fine with Anthem disappearing off the face of the earth. I don't care. I think it should have even existed this long, to be honest. The development was absolutely horrible. It had no passion, no love built into it. It was a mess. It should not have left the door. But since you paid $60, like, this is a $60 premium game that you want to exist to stay as an example for these other companies to try and do. Get her out. Lock it up. Let's pack it up. Yeah. Anyways, let's keep our standards high and let's hope for a better future in gaming. I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.